What all these readings are about, obviously, is that Jesus is giving us, in what we would call today, our job description. We weren't called to be his disciples for fun. We were called to be witnesses, to make known to others the experience that we have had. It's as simple as that. Jesus didn't call me and you just for our personal salvation. I really do have a problem with that term, personal Savior. He is my Savior. He is our Savior. And he called the whole human family into union with himself and therefore reunion with his Father. That's what all this metaphor of ascending and going into the clouds and all things like that is about. When we talk of God, we really have to use metaphors because we don't have enough comprehension of God to speak plainly. And so the Bible is given to us mostly in many, many metaphorical expressions. But what we have been called to do is to witness to the Lord in his absence. There's a famous icon of the Ascension. An icon is from the Eastern Church where a picture is painted on wood and it's the Ascension, and all the disciples are looking up, and right out of the top of the icon is this cloud with a pair of feet sticking out of it. It's sort of comical, but it really is a way of expressing what we just heard in the gospel, that Jesus has left us in one way, but remains with us in another way. And that we will celebrate next Sunday when we celebrate the coming of his Spirit upon us, which has already happened to us. But each one of us in our own way is called upon to tell others about our experience of Jesus. And in a world where the example and the teaching and the will of Jesus is certainly not being followed very carefully, even by communities who call themselves Christian, we really do need to answer the call of Christ to be witnesses where we are. Now that sounds like a big operation, a big challenge. But I have to bring it down to the real world. Where does it start? Where does our witness start? Start with your zip code. Start with where you are. That may be family. It is family for most. School, workplace. Is Jesus calling us to get up on a soapbox? No. And preach? No. God knows we have enough of those. But we are asked to witness by our example. The hands and the feet of Jesus are us. No one will see the Christ unless they see him in us. His presence is still with us. The mode of his presence is different. We Catholics have a great devotion to the presence of Christ in the Eucharist which is retained after the Mass is celebrated. And we love to go and commune with Christ in the presence of the Blessed Sacrament. But after the Blessed Sacrament, the most absolutely sure place you will experience the presence of Christ is in the person who is nearest to you. I don't mean in family ties, I mean nearest to you physically. To experience the presence of Jesus, it is not necessary to go to church, although that's one of the few places we can go to get some peace and quiet, because he is present to us in each and every individual who he came to lead back to the Father. A lot of us don't feel sure of ourselves. Who am I? Who am I to say, who am I to do anything like that? You don't have to say anything. But we do have to stop minding our own business by witnessing. We have to escape from that temptation to keep it Jesus and me. Because that's not our job description. Our job description is dissemination of news, not the retention of news. If we do not do this, then we are rejecting the very Spirit of Jesus, which we will be celebrating next week. But we also have to remember that the Spirit of Jesus empowers us to do what he asks. We really don't do it on our own. We are empowered, given something we don't have naturally. So the picking up snakes for most of us means picking up the snakes of our own fears and hesitations and throwing them into the fire, like Paul did when he was on the Isle of Crete, when a real snake came out of the fire and he latched onto his hand, he just shook it off into the fire. And that's what we're called to do with our own fears, to get rid of them, to cast them away. The Native Americans have a great custom, I've read, that whenever a gift is given to them, they give it away. They keep it moving. And that's exactly what Jesus is calling us to do. The gift we have been given to freely give. And if we don't give it, we lose it.